the Harry Potter show. So they're doing that. They are remaking the books.
Yeah.
Going to hopefully be over 20 years. And they have announced the casting of Harry, Ron, and Hermione, the Golden Trio.
Yeah.
So we have Dominic McLaughlin as Harry, Arabella Stanton as Hermione, and Alistair Stout as Ron. And the big thing with this news is that there's already been controversy. And think about it, this has been directed at children. Children who...
What do you mean?
What's
the controversy coming
So the big controversy is some people don't like the fact that they've cast, like an ethnic child as Hermione, when actually she fits the description in the books. Hermione is described as a little girl with brunette hair and kind of like, big teeth, like accentuated features. And that's what this little girl looks like. So it's book accurate.
She's got like quite relatively like dark skin. Is that maybe the issue, or like?
No, well, it shouldn't be. But then you know how the internet is, man.
So they're annoyed that the color of her skin.
Yeah,
or
I think it's ridiculous. A child. Again, I'm going to keep saying that. At a child,
she doesn't look exactly like the one from the films.
And the other controversy is that they didn't cast a kid with green eyes, which all the Potter apologists they made this mistake. In the original films, I think they had to use contacts with Daniel Radcliffe.
Wait. So Harry Potter has green eyes in the books.
So yeah, he has green eyes, and it's like the whole running thing is it's the same as his mother's.
Right, okay. So,
and people are already getting angry at this kid for the color of his eyes. And really, if you're going to direct it at anyone, direct it at the casting director. When it's not, and it's actually not even a big deal. They can alter his eyes in post. What's the issue?
They could probably do it given contacts or just do it in CGI or something like that. Why is it such a fucking big
deal? Why is it a big thing? But it's news.
Yeah.
Either way, and just
just a casting related thing as well. I just wanted to mention. Sorry to interrupt. With Bella Ramsey. Which everyone's talking about Bella Ramsey at the minute. If you haven't seen The Last of Us, I watched the first season. I don't want to give a whole review of Last of Us, but I actually quite enjoyed the first season. I thought the first half was way better than the second half. And then the second season, it's just dog shit, and we all know. we basically all know why. No spoilers, but Bella Ramsey as well. People were outraged at her, and like we were just talking about, there are some times when casting decisions are made and people get outraged about the most ridiculous things that just don't make any fucking sense. I mean, look, the show hasn't even come out yet and people are already angry. And I get it because people have such an emotional connection to the films that they've come, they love when they were kids and stuff like this, but it's for like a new generation at this point. And, there's going to be differences. And if it was a performance-related issue, then I could get behind it. Exactly. So how long is this going to go on for? Did you say 20 years? Yeah,
I think 20 years, because they are doing every single one of the books.
Wow, that's mental.
Which, to be fair, for I'm a pretty big Potterhead, as they call them. I'm pretty into the series. I mean, I've only read up to Goblet of Fire, but for people who have read the books, there's so much they cut out, and especially with something like Goblet of Fire, which, controversial opinion, I actually think is one of the weaker films. There's so much that was left out. So it will be interesting to see a faithful adaptation of the books.
And more explored in detail.
Exactly. They get more time to do it, 30, 60 plus hours as opposed to a 2-hour film.
That's quite exciting.
So, I'm very cautiously optimistic, and I just hope that Hollywood and the internet doesn't ruin it for these kids who are probably just so excited about this opportunity. And if people are horrible to them, that's terrible.
There's another thing that's come out recently, which I'm actually particularly excited about. I don't really give a shit about Harry Potter, although I am hoping it's obviously going to be good. I mean, HBO usually HBO's got a pretty good fucking.
Oh yeah. Pretty good. I mean, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, like they do some pretty good shows.
They had Game of Thrones.
Yeah, Succession.
At the time, yeah.
They nearly had fucking Breaking Bad. If they refused Vince Gilligan Breaking Bad, which I'm sure they regret to this day.
Oh my God, they must be kicking
themselves. Yeah, because honestly, their back catalogue of shows would be insane. They'd have Game of Thrones, the best show of all time, Breaking Bad. Obviously, I just have to slip that in there. And Succession, it would be insane. But they, for some reason, wasn't interested. But anyway, I still love HBO, so I'm, it sounds promising. It's pretty insane that they've got plans for 20 years in the future. It's pretty cool. But I'm also a big fan of The Office US. I love the UK one.
Great show.
You love it as well.
Both of them, yeah. Great shows.
I think they're both just as good, personally. We can debate another day about whether or not it's the same when Michael Scott leaves. But there has been some news that came out recently that in September this year, there'll be a new show called The Paper, which is kind of a weird name. But it's actually going to be like in universe of the original US show. And it's created by Greg Daniels and Michael Coleman and executive producer Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant. So I don't know, man. I'm actually really excited about this. Like, it's got in-universe characters, it seems. One of the guys that came back was Oscar Nunez, as right. Oscar Martinez.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. I don't know why, but there's something. Well, I do know why. It's Greg fucking Daniels. It's the original creator from the US office. So it seems promising. We don't have a lot of information at the minute, but I'm excited about this because there was a Australian remake that came out a couple of months ago that was just like, it's not even worth fucking talking about. It's just dog shit. Absolutely, just go away. Like, I don't think anyone even watched it. I think they just chucked
Leave. Why are you here? Leave.
Just chucked it all on Amazon Prime because they were like, surely if we chuck the whole season on all at once, maybe people will continue watching. But everyone, it seems, just all hated it because it's just so PC, woke, bullshit humor. And that's the problem with today's comedies, it seems.
I think, comedy's tough, man, because right now, stand-ups and like writers, filmmakers, they're having to kind of really walk a tightrope that I guess societal norms and the internet have set, where they're really, they have to temper their satire as not to offend. And it's very difficult because it affects characterization. Like, I think in a lot of sitcoms now, apart from, the odd exception, they're afraid to create unlikable characters because they'll worry, are we endorsing a certain moral code? If we have a character who is a complete piece of shit, who is like homophobic, racist and whatnot, like, is that what we're peddling? When really, I feel like the shows that we were obviously too young for, but that we grew up with, there was people, I guess, in society and in the industry, those commissioning and creating these shows and films, they understood that it was never an indictment of that behavior. The joke was this character is an awful person. That's part of the joke. And I feel like comedians, they're finding that hard to do, and that's what they're constantly worrying about.
It's funny because I actually think right now is a fantastic time for comedians. You mean like stand-up comedians, right?
And just comedy writers in general, both. Yeah. Everyone across
comedy writing at the minute is a different issue. And I think what you said partly was true about them worrying about encoding people into thinking certain things that maybe is wrong. I don't think they give a shit. I think they care more about the reputation of the company and whether the company seems like it is promoting these ideas. So it's more just like a virtual signaling on their part. And it's fucking man, it's so old at this point. It's the same thing that happened with The Last of Us. That's why people hate in The Last of Us, because it's so, you could just see the political messaging just being rammed down your throat, and people, it's just, man, people are so bored of this shit now, and I just love the outrage, though. I love how quick people are to spot it. Yeah. And
haven't they been sending Bella Ramsey death threats? That's just a little far.
Let me just say, I don't think Bella Ramsey deserves death threats. I don't think it's all on her at all. I just think her performance, she shouldn't have been cast as Ellie, unfortunately. It's just sad. It's not really her fault. I wish her well. She was great in Game of Thrones, but it's just bad casting. She doesn't deserve death threats, obviously. But yeah, it's an interesting conversation, really, because we all know what comedy is, and I think something's not funny if it's not, towing the line between whether or not you can say it, or if it's pushing it a little bit too hard. That's where the funniest things in life come from, and that's what we love so much. What you were saying last week about South Park, that sort of comedy that pushes it that little bit too far, and that's what makes people laugh out loud, and we can't help it.
South Park is one of the few kind of like beacons of that. Like coming back to Trey Parker and Matt Stone, I think they've been doing it for so long. Yeah, where. Also because of the form, the fact that South Park is made to look like a really shitty little cartoon. Yeah. That's why I feel like their satire is still so biting, because they just do not care. They take no prisoners. And if someone's offended by it, they can just go, oh well, it's a little stick cartoon.
It's just a couple of blobs.
Like, exactly. Like why are you getting offended?
Yeah.
So I think they're like the very few that I think have been able to do that consistently throughout like the past decade or so, when so much has changed politically, socially.
Yeah, they're still doing their own thing.
Comedy,
yeah. They just tell you to fuck off. They don't give a shit. They just continue doing what they want.
But then some creators don't have that luxury, and like you said, they worry more about what the company.
The companies have a hold over
their shareholders and their bosses.
Of course, yeah, and their reputation. But when it comes to comedy, there's a fine line, man. But I have high hopes. And it's not even to say that the US office was even particularly irreverent. Like you could, on paper it's not, but when you look back at it now, it's so far. When you look back at it now, in relation to where we are now with comedy, it is a very irreverent show. I mean, I look at some of the lines in that show, and I just think, could that have been said?
Diversity Day, great episode.
Yeah,
could any of that be done?
Yeah, could it have been done now? And it's hard to tell. It really is.
Although there are some shows from that time that are like the bigger offenders. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Way worse. Way worse.
Where you think, oh my god, damn.
Yeah, but the US office. Yeah. What we love, and this is what we were saying about comedy, what we love so much about Michael Scott's character is that he's a flawed person. He's a flawed person that says stupid things. He doesn't know what the hell he's saying sometimes. He just wants to be liked. And sometimes he says something that verges on the line of racist. But that it's not actually racist. And you know that in his heart that he's just trying to be a good person and he says stupid things. And that's what we love about him.
Also, I think one of the most important things with comedy is when you have like a character who's maybe not detestable but flawed, his consequences. Yeah. Michael Scott always suffers the consequences.
Of course he does, yeah.
What he's done.
Exactly,
And that's great comedy.
We have to be able to laugh at flawed human beings. That otherwise, there's nothing more boring to me, and this is why the Australian office was terrible, than just stupid, just characters spouting out these lines that are supposed to be hilarious and are just not, any reflection on like an actual character or a human being. They've got no characterization. They're just saying these punchy, pre-written lines that are just designed to be like this one hit kind of like punchline. It's just so boring. We're so done with it. And this could be a piece of shit, but I've just got you've got hope for Harry Potter. I've just got a lot of hope for this.
But I am kind of cautious about the fact that it's like in universe, because something like The Office, I don't think it needs to be like marvelized.
Yeah, true.
Because why I think that one joke of David Brennan and Michael Scott bumping into each other works so well is because it's like one scene, one episode, and they never acknowledge it again.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess it'll be cool, if it's just like a little mention, a little Easter egg, that's fine. But then it makes kind of the universe feel a bit more like just compact in a bad way.
Well, Ricky Gervais's whole philosophy at the beginning of writing the UK Office was that you need to keep the audience wanting more. You can't give them too much, because at some point they'll get sick of it. So I don't know. They obviously saw something.
Got to pepper it in.
Exactly.
Like little sprinkles to.
You don't know how much. I don't know how much they are involved. Executive producer.
Yeah, because that could just mean like,
exactly.
Can we do this?
Yeah.
Right, sure. There you go, mate.
Yeah, you do whatever. The hell you
exactly.
Want. That was even the case with the US office, to be honest. Even though Steve Merchant directed a couple of episodes, I think. But let me know what you guys think. Have you got high hopes for this, or are you just kind of thinking, we don't need it? The Office was amazing. It was of its time. It's not like we haven't got enough episodes to go back and rewatch. It's probably one of the most rewatchable shows of all time, in my opinion.
Anyone remember COVID? I'm sure you'll do remember lockdown.
Oh my God, I rewatched that show.
What were you watching? Come on. The Office. We all were. Don't lie to yourselves. In other news, Amazon has cancelled Wheel of Time, and now this is a very popular fantasy series, has quite a big following, and that was just cancelled by Amazon Prime Video.
How many seasons were there before?
So there were 3 seasons. And they have just and apparently the show wasn't finished. I've only watched a few episodes, but that was not meant to be the last season. And this is what it says in Deadline: Prime Video will not be renewing The Wheel of Time for a 4th season. The decision, which comes more than a month after the season 3 finale was released April 17th, following lengthy deliberations, as is often the case in the current economic environment. The reasons were financial, as the series is liked creatively by the streamers, the executives. And that I find that very interesting because there's also been a fan petition now, and this is just from a few days ago, which I think is crazy. That's got 50,000 plus signatures to renew the show. And I guess the question it poses is, how do we feel about the state of the streaming services? Because this shows, even if a show is artistically satisfying, has a really big following, and most networks will obviously say, or most streamers will be like, we care about the integrity of our shows. What does it say when they are cancelling a beloved show for economic or like monetary reasons?
Well, wouldn't it be awesome if the petition,
Well, I mean, if it did something, that would be pretty wild. Yeah,
that'd be fucking awesome. I mean, let's look. I mean, it's kind of like a weird comparison, but if you look back at Sonic, and there was loads of petitions for that, and people
bloody Sonic,
the outrage on that character design. And people just said, this is just disgusting. And they actually did something. The studio went back and
it helped because the redesign didn't look like a little shit scary demon from hell, or whatever the hell
that was. It was like a rat dipped in paint. Man, it was ridiculous. Yeah. And then we the public actually made a difference. Yeah. And it's kind of amazing that's it's only been a few days.
Yeah, and then
50,000 petitions.
Such a passionate response,
signatures
from so many people.
So I guess we'll have to see about that, if that actually makes any difference.